Okay, lighting's not great. It's like the cover of With the Beatles, one side dark, one side light. But I'm doing this in the house. Kind of random. I was asked by Ian to do my list of top 10 Tuesday uh, list, and they're doing foreign language films. Um, Foreign films, but foreign language films. So they're leaving out British films, which would have made most of my list, and silent films, which also probably would have been in the list. So I had to think about some of the foreign films that I've watched over the last few years. I started watching more and more now, um, just because I've been seeing other people watching uh, Ingmar Bergman films and such like that, and recommending on YouTube. So I have my little list of 10, and I'll kind of run through them real quick, and they're in no particular order. One of the most recent ones I watched this year is a Swedish film called A Man Called Ove. I have it on my letterbox here in this way to keep track of what I got here. But A Man Called Ove, it was released in 2015, directed by Hans Holm. Very good film. It's about a man, an elderly man whose wife had passed away, and he's having a hard time dealing with that. But he's also sort of like the gatekeeper of the residential neighborhood that he lives in Sweden, um, and he's having a hard time because nobody listens to him. They call him an old man. The thing just fall apart. But he is depressed, because his wife is not there, and he tries to kill himself several times in this movie, and fails each time, for one reason or the other. But I caught this on Amazon Prime earlier this year, and it was a surprise, and it's a great little film. So if you can catch it, it's called A Man Called Ove. It's from Sweden. The other one I watched this year is from 1953. I heard a lot of talk about this, and matter of fact, the fellow I just joined, found out about him 2 weeks ago. Daisuke. Um, he he's from Tokyo, and he just talked about this movie, Tokyo Story. I just fell in love with this story. It was directed by Yoshihiro Ozu. My pronunciations are bad with names here, Japanese. But anyways, my tribe, but Ozu, I guess he's known, is came out in 1953, black and white film. It's about two parents, elderly parents, who go visit their children in Tokyo, and their children really have no interest in them, and it's a sad commentary um, on things, but it's about family, and wow, it got dark in here real quick. Clouds. So, anyways, this was on the Criterion Collection. I rented it from Netflix, and I recommend that you watch it. Tokyo Story, very good story, um, very good film, I should say. Next one I watched about a year ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now, when Hulu used to have um, the Criterion films on there, and it's a Ingmar Bergman film, and I think this is the second Ingmar Bergman film I ever seen. Was called Wild Strawberries, and it starred Victor Strolstrom, who did the Phantom Carriage years ago, back in the 1920, 21, 22. And he stars in this one. It's from 1957. It's also on the Criterion collection. Um, so that's one that maybe you need to check out. Those Wild Strawberries, very good film. Uh, I'll just read here real quick. It says, crotchety retired doctor Isaac Borg travels from Stockholm to Lund, Sweden, with his pregnant and unhappy daughter-in-law, Marianne, in order to receive an honorary degree from his alma mater. Along the way, they encounter a series of hitchhikers, each of whom causes the elderly doctor to muse upon the pleasures and failures of his own life. These include the vivacious young Sarah, a dead ringer for the Doctor's own first love. That's Wild Strawberries. Excuse me. Next one I watched recently, rented Netflix. Yeah, I rent DVDs from Netflix. I also stream. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Uh, and I watched this because I've seen people talk about this on YouTube. It's a French film from 1959 called The 400 Blows, uh, directed by Francois Truffaut. Um, and it's for young, and the synopsis of it is for young Parisian boy Antoine Duanel. Life is one difficult situation after another, surrounded by inconsiderate adults, including his neglectful parents. Antoine spends his days with his best friend Rene, trying to plan for a better life. When one of their schemes go awry, Antoine ends up in trouble with the law, leading to even more conflicts with unsympathetic authority figures. Very good film. I was kind of surprised because I was starting to watch more foreign films. I think uh, one of the first French films I watched was with "And God Created Woman" with Brigitte Bardot, and that was nothing but a movie for eye candy. And but this was here is great. I guess this is what they call the French New Wave cinema. So I'm looking forward to watching more of Francois Truffaut's movies. And if anybody can recommend any French New Wave movies that I need to watch, I think Breathless is another one I want to watch. Um, the original Breathless, not with Richard Gere. Um, so any recommendations, put them in the comments below, please. And the next one I have is a 1953 French film. Just fell in love with watching this guy. I watched every movie that was released on Criterion. One day I'll buy the set, DVD or Blu-ray, but it's Jacques Tati's Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, directed in 1953. He is a French comedian. Um, does a lot of physical comedy. Not much talking. He doesn't talk much in the films at all, if at all. In most of his films, it's a character, Monsieur Hulot, played by Jacques Tati, and so his like a lot of physical humor and scenarios that happen. And this was the first one I ever watched. Well, I watched Mon Oncle years and years ago, and then I rewatched it not too long ago. But yeah, Monsieur Hulot, Jacques Tati's endearing clown takes a holiday at a seaside resort where his presence provokes one catastrophe after another, which is true. The fireworks scene is amazing and that funny, just very funny. So if you want to check that out, that's Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. That is also on the Criterion collection. Um, Number six, first Japanese movie I ever watched, Seven Samurai. You knew this had to be in here. Akira Kurosawa, renting his movies through Netflix and kind of going through them. I watched Yojimbo, Hidden Fortress. Um, so nothing to say about this one because everybody knows about it. This is one that's lacking in my Criterion library. So I'll rectify that one day. Seven Samurai. Next one is Mon Oncle, 1958. I talked about that. Jacques Tati. Um, he plays Mr. Hulot, or Monsieur Hulot. Genial, bumbling Monsieur Hulot lives his top floor apartment in a grimy corner of the city and cannot fathom why his sister's family has moved to the suburbs. Their house is an ultra-modern nightmare which Hulot only visits for the sake of stealing away his rambunctious young nephew. Hulot's sister, however, wants to win him over to her new way of life and conspires to set him up with a wife and a job. Funny movie. This was the first one I ever seen, and I actually seen this on when I lived in South Florida, Channel 6. I want to say Channel 6, which was an off-channel, a local station. They used to play movies every day, actually. Every day they had like an 8 o'clock movie where you watch Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it would be in 3 parts or 2 parts. Part one day and the other half the next day. Well, that's where I saw My Uncle on Netflix commercials, and then I finally watched it on the Criterion DVD, and just fell in love with it again. So that was number 7, My Uncle, Jacques Tati. Now number, ooh, gosh, what was it here? Number 8, movie I seen on Netflix late last year. Heard a lot of buzz about it. I guess because it was up for an Academy Award nomination. It was a movie called Roma. It was made in Mexico, and it was directed by Alfonso Cuarón. And it's about a domestic worker who helps raise this woman's children that she takes care of while her husband's away, and how how the woman's rich, and the separation of rich and poor in this one. A very good movie. I stuck to the TV the whole time. Didn't even fall asleep, which is usually the habit I have. I have to rewatch stuff, but I stuck through the whole thing. Even at its length, it is a pretty lengthy movie at 135 minutes. But Roma, a very good film. If you need to, if you have Netflix, check it out. Don't be a snob, a streaming snob on that stuff. Because sometimes, like, you got to do what you got to do to get movies. Number 9, film directed by Ingmar Bergman. Loved this movie as well. One that will be added to the collection, the Criterion collection, soon. And it stars Max von Sydow and Gunnar Bjorkstrand. B.B. Anderson, late B.B. Anderson, just passed away. It is The Seventh Seal, released in 1957. Yeah, everybody should know about this movie. It's a Swedish film, because it's Ingmar Bergman, so it's Swedish. So, anyways, a great film. And if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend that you do. I believe it's also in Ian's top 10 list as well. And number 10 is from China, and I was trying to find something to watch one day on my day off, and something different. And I remember seeing in the $5 bins at Walmart, the $3.74 bins now at Walmart, they had a DVD for a movie called Ip Man, and it looked interesting. It stars Donnie Yen, and so I found it on Netflix. It was actually streaming, and it still is. I've watched part 2, and I got to watch part 3. But this one's directed by Wilson Yip, and it's about it's a biographical film. This is the first one, Ip Man, 2008. It's a biographical film about Yip Man, is his name, the first martial arts master to teach Chinese martial arts of Wing Chun, not Wing Chun, the band, and was also taught Bruce Lee. So it's the only martial arts film I have in here. I mean, there was other ones like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that film, and a lot of Jackie Chan films. But Ip Man is a pretty good movie. The second one was okay. The third one I'll have to watch. Usually the sequels are pretty rough, but this one was pretty good. Like I said, it stars Donnie Yen, Simon Yam, Lin Hung. And it's about 108 minutes. So if you get a chance to watch that, please do. So that's my list, boring list of foreign language films, the top 10 films that I've loved so far. If you want to check them out, the list is posted on Letterboxd. So just look for me on Letterboxd, and you can check out the links for there. Thank you for watching. Leave comments, like, dislike, subscribe, whatever. Thank you, Ian, for inviting me to do this, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.